Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lyds, and we're back to break some more thrones, and last time we successfully took out the elven hideout over here, and we may or may not have set ourselves up to make Black Rayla very angry with us, and I'm a little concerned that she might leave if we're not careful. So, we did kind of just rebuild our entire deck around her, so I'm really hoping that that doesn't happen, but we shall see about that. As for what is next on our agenda, I think many of these question marks that we see here for the points of interest are pretty much roadblocks of some variety, so they aren't really things that we want to make a point of going to, and that means we have this over here, which was an encounter that we did previously, but it was way out of our league. We very much could not handle it. However, I believe that was just before we made all of our deck modifications, so there's a chance that, assuming Rayla isn't quite literally about to leave our group, that maybe we could be more successful this time. Otherwise, only thing I'm seeing here is, well, the main quest with Eldain up there, and if ever there were a time for Rayla to leave, it would probably be immediately after that. I metagaming a little bit there, but that's at least what I would theorize, so I think for that reason, perhaps it is worth taking another look over here and seeing if maybe this time we can have more success with that encounter. So let's head on our way in that direction in that case, and I think we do need to wind around here a bit in order to avoid having to create one of those pathways for ourselves, rebuilding a bridge or what have you, because that basically just costs us some additional wood. I think this is, yeah, I remember going through over here. I think this is the way we had gone. Although, is that, oh, that is the path, okay. Just see, I think we technically, this was one of those pathways that was blocked, so I think we had to go around. Yeah, like that's the pitfall traps, more or less, right there. So I think what we did was, well, I mean, is this going to help us at all? I don't really think so. I think what we need to do is go down by the village and then under this bridge downtown. I think that's the plan. Yeah, because it's over in that direction. So all I remember was that last time we did it, it was just not even remotely close. Like, we might have scored quite literally 0 points at the end of the battle. So it's going to take a pretty significant improvement for us to win that one. So I still have some hesitation, some feelings as if we may not be good enough to finish this yet, but we did make all those changes to our deck, so I think we gotta give it a shot, at the very least, with our new setup, and see how we fare. So it should be right up here. And we actually, I mean, we did this encounter, and we actually had the choice of either directly engaging in the conflict, or alternatively, there was something that looked like it was a little bit more of a diplomatic approach. Now, that feels a little disingenuous if we were to basically have failed the first time and then come back a second time around and say, well, now that we know it's too difficult for us to handle, let's just weasel our way out of that situation. That feels like that's not all that fair, so I think we, at least initially here, still go for the same option we took last time.
Meve arrived at the hut the villagers claimed to be the meeting point for the Scoia'tael and the Hawkers. Torchlight flickered amidst the trees, and she heard the sound of hushed voices.
Your Grace,
Whispered Rayla.
they're in our grasp. We must act quickly before the elves retreat into the woods.
Not to mention, talking about what made Rayla mad at us last time was sparing the Scoia'tael. And so if there is still a chance of keeping her on our team, which I think is very much something that we want to do, then we might want to try to keep Rayla as happy as possible at this stage, because we're testing her limits, I think, a little bit here. And so this is what I was referring to. We could either give the order to attack, that's what we did last time, but as I was saying, it was a little overwhelming, the encounter, we very much could not handle it, or we could try to avoid the conflict, but I think that feels kind of unfair to me if we retroactively decide, well, let's take the easy way out and try to avoid the conflict. Now, of course, there's a chance that it just doesn't work and it backfires in some way, shape, or form, but I think we at least try this, and if we don't prove successful, then maybe we try again and avoid the conflict there. But I think at the very least, first we have to give it another
The
shot.
Queen said, patting her on the back.
I shan't let a chance like this slip. Attack!
The Lyrians rushed out of the woods at the unsuspecting elves and merchants. Moments later, the sound of combat filled the dark wood.
And here we go. Okay, so I'm trying to remember what the deal was with this battle, and like I said, all I remember is that we got completely crushed. It is a shortened battle, so that means just one round. It is difficult to say who held more contempt for the Hawkers, humans, whose laws they had broken by trading with the Scoia'tael, or the elven warriors themselves, who viewed them as honorless traitors to their race. Whatever the case, the Hawkers paid neither any mind. For if they stood to gain coin, they would bargain with any and all. So let's start it up. Like we said, it is a single round, and let's just take a peek here. See if we can recall what happened. Whenever a unit is summoned from the deck, give it 3 armor, gain 1 charge. Whenever this unit reaches 3 charges, spawn a random trinket in your hand. Then set charge count to 0. So, lots of summoning. To put it simply, oh! We're on low morale? I did not remember that. I very much did not remember that. Was that from sparing the Scoia'tael in their elven hideout? That surprises me a bit. I would think, if anything, going the more diplomatic, humane approach would have kept spirits up rather than being merciless rulers, but I don't know. That certainly could make matters a little bit more tricky for us here. We do have Knickers in our hand, and the thing is, Knickers can get summoned from our deck, so I think we very much want to keep him in our deck, not our hand. And then Reynard gives a charge to all units with a depleted order. The idea is we need to get a way to get Rayla onto the board first. So I think we get rid of Knickers, and what we're really looking for is we can get Xavier. He is a person that we can guarantee gets us Rayla, and then we use Reynard to reset all of their orders. Then the Bombers, great for the damage, but I know at times this has backfired on us a bit. In particular when we've tried to use Infiltrators, but we don't have any in our hand at the moment, so maybe that's fine. And then, of course, I totally set myself up for that. So I think we do try to get rid of said Infiltrators and perhaps prioritize Slingers instead. We're still looking for either Rayla directly or Xavier to get Rayla. And we have not yet looked out in that regard. Okay. That's a little unfortunate in that case. So, let's see. We do have a leader ability charge. Do we want to use it when they have just a single unit out here? Maybe? Remind me what the deal is with our stuffs here. Damage the highest unit on the battlefield by up to 15. Then boost the lowest unit by the amount damaged. So, I mean, this is both the highest and the lowest unit. I remember there were some... The phrasing on this was a little bit interesting in that there were times when I thought that we were going to deal enough damage to destroy a unit, and then we didn't. I may have just done my math wrong, maybe that was it, but it feels like this card is pretty important, so getting rid of it might be nice if, in fact, we do get the full 15 damage, but at the same time not getting the benefit of the boost is not getting the full value out of the card. I'm tempted to try it, though. If it doesn't work, then, clearly this attempt has totally backfired on us, but let's at least give it a shot. Yeah, it doesn't work at all. So it does totally backfire. I mean, to be honest, we probably are going to want to reset after that, because that's just about as poorly as that could have gone in that case, but wanted to see if we could figure out exactly how that one works, because it's still very much a new card to us. Only used it once or twice thus far. So every 2 turns, turn start, summon a random elf from your deck. Okay, so you give those summoned cards additional power, whereas you are the card that actually does the summoning. And when it comes to the trinkets we were using, yes, we do need to wait until we actually have units out there to use them. Now, Knickers with the immunity, I think, will be an important factor for us, because oftentimes with Scoia'tael, they just have a ton of damage, and that's been a serious problem for us. But now, I mean, I guess we still try to give this a shot here, right? So I think we do want to try to get rid of one of you guys as quickly as possible. If we go leader ability for 4 damage, that would drop you down to a 5. That's still not going to be enough. We slinger... on you, you get to a 9. Still doesn't line you up to deal damage to you both with leader ability. That's unfortunate. Yeah. I think we just set on fire.
Catch!
Wait, hold on. Does it say which row? I'm pretty sure that we were asking ourselves the same question last time we were doing this encounter. I don't remember what the answer was. Obviously, if everything gets summoned to this row, then we definitely want to set that row on fire. Also, I once again forgot to use our leader ability. I mean, first time. Deliberately kind of didn't. Would have been nice if they had the same amount of power still, but alright. So now we can actually get rid of you for whatever that's worth. If we were to combine Slinger plus leader ability, that would be sufficient, so, you know. Alright. Certainly, mistakes have been made here. But at the very least, what we're doing is we're reminding ourselves how this encounter works, and we did put now 2 units into that flaming row, so that's something. Damage unit by 2, if it was already boosted, damage it by... Well, fortunately, we did not have highly boosted units, so that actually worked out fairly well for us. Lyria and Rivia is a card that I ideally wish we just didn't have in our hand at all right now, because it does focus on the boosts, and it generates value over time, and it's probably not going to last long enough for that to even work at all. So, yeah, that would have been the other card I would have liked to have dumped, if possible. We probably want to set this other row on fire as quickly as possible as well. But obviously, there's only 1 unit in there at the moment, but the earlier we set a row on fire, the more total damage we will get. So I think that probably is still what we're looking for. Was that the first summon they did? I think it was, yeah, because it's the actual card they're playing. Oh, this is the card that absolutely wrecked us last time. It would be crazy. It would be crazy, but you could make a case that it is worth transforming that Elven Swordmaster into a bear. Yes, the bear is 22 power, whereas the Swordmaster is just 9. However, that Swordmaster destroys one of our cards every single turn, which over time is going to be worth way, way more than 22 points. So, I think that might actually be the play. Unless, I mean, he's like, how else do you stop this? It's not row locked, it's not like we can move it with a Slinger to prevent it from destroying stuff. So, I mean, I don't remember how many of these they have. They probably have multiple, but I actually do think that it is worth transforming you into a bear, and it is probably worth doing that as quickly as possible to minimize the amount of units you destroy. So, it's a weird one. What? It just says damage. It says damaged unit. It does not specify your own unit. And it says restraint, so you can't target a boss. Is this a boss? Because I don't think so. Oh, technically we should be allowed to do that, and yet we are not, so don't feel great about that one. I mean, I understand how it would not be the first thing that most people would think of, but technically speaking, it should be allowed. There's nothing on this card that says anything that would say we are not allowed to do that, so alright, in that case, I suppose we'll just go for more damage here, but I mean, that would have been, actually would have been our preferred approach there. Let's see. We prefer to prioritize getting rid of you or you. Obviously, as we were saying, the Swordmaster is a big problem, but it does have 9 power, which means it's going to be pretty hard to get rid of it. Damage unit by 2, yeah. Oh, but you also do something every turn. But basically, you make sure that there are damaged units, and then you finish those units off. All right, so we do kind of work in tandem, but I think that one is still a little more dangerous. Oh, and Knickers? Knickers could be our key to success. Actually, he ate our stratagem, and in doing so, gained a whole bunch of points. But having a huge immune unit means we have a huge unit that they cannot damage or destroy. So that is actually really good. But, well, it's probably not going to be sufficient given the other mistakes we've made and what have you. So, I mean, what we can do is we can get rid of you. We can damage you pretty significantly, and then whenever unit is summoned... Yeah, I think you're the one we want to get rid of next. What's your deal? Whenever a non-elf unit is destroyed... Yes, you're also going to become pretty big. Oh. What? Oh, not all those were elves. Yeah, okay. One of them was not. Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, most of your cards are elves, right? But the Hawker Smugglers are actually humans.
I shall not fail!
And there's another destruction. So those guys will get boosted. What? Oh, part of that was just damage, and one of them was outright removal. Okay, well, now we can get rid of 1, 2, and 3, and you are... Or, well, actually, 1 and 2. You can get damaged, but not quite destroyed unless the fire bails us out a bit. But, you know, that's not atrociously awful.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
And I think we still do want to target you at the very least. Ah, but no damage at all from the fire.
Oh no.
Heal an ally, okay. Unfortunate, especially because, yeah, that's going to minimize the effects of the fire, but what we can do now is... So do they have any more... They do have damage. It's already boosted damage by 6 instead. So this is why the Lyrian Scytheman is not great. I was going to say Lyrian Scytheman, this would be the time to play because we're about to use our leader ability, but we get a boost of 5 from that leader ability. They get 6 damage from that leader ability. So on net, we are actually not benefiting from triggering that loyal component. So we actually might want to deliberately play Reynard now rather than the Lyrian Scytheman and keep this as our last card. So I guess we do this. Obviously, we have no cards that synergize with Reynard here. That is why we were saying a long time ago that we probably did want to take him out of our deck. But now we, at the very least, if we do get Xavier and or Rayla, can combine him with them, but that's still a very small probability to get all those cards lined up in our hand, have them work together, but we at least have 2 cards that had 8 power there. That gets us closer. But you're going to heal any damaged peoples.
Everything all right?
Unfortunately. Oh. Damage adjacent units by 6. Is going to be enough to destroy you. So you will come back over to their side, and that is probably going to be just enough for that. Well, I mean, we had time to boost the Scytheman now. I mean, even then, Elven Archer would still get extra damage off of it. So, no, I don't think we're going to pull this one off. It was surprisingly close given all the things that did not go the way we wanted them to go. And the fire burning multiple people simultaneously is great, but they'll still continue to heal. They'll get that card back, and so certainly better than our previous performance. They do still have 1 card remaining here, but given all the things that went wrong in that encounter, I think it is certainly possible. So I think we have a chance here. We've learned a lot from our mistakes, so I think we just restart it. Okay, so let's see. We were saying we really don't like the Scytheman in this encounter. That was one thing we did a good job of, is make sure we did not get the Scytheman. This time, we have Reynard, Xavier, Rayla, and Gascon, which is basically all of our best cards in our hand simultaneously, so I love that. But the question now becomes, can we get more direct damage from things like Slingers? And the Bombers would be amazing, because I don't like the Cavalry against the Scoia'tael, because in order for this damage to continue to proc, they need to stay alive. If they get destroyed, then the marked unit doesn't take any damage, and so, because these are going to get destroyed pretty quickly, it doesn't work very well. We don't want Knickers in our hand, though. Okay, there's a Bomber. We really want another one, though. Ooh, Infiltrator's not great. Okay. We do need to make up our mind where we are going to set rows on fire. Could certainly be this range row here. Whatever row it is, we're going to want to make a point of not playing the Infiltrator that we just got in that same row. We're going to want to try to save this Infiltrator for near the end until they play those cards that get boosted whenever a non-elf gets destroyed. Actually, let's think about... Hold on. We can use Xavier to choose a card with an order... Or no. We can use Rayla, was it? Play a card from your deck, yeah. We could use her to get another Bomber out, so we could still bomb both rows. That just means that this Ray's Infiltrator, yeah, could very easily turn into a dead card for us. So we might want to play this immediately, and then after that, set the opposite row on, whichever row this is not in, set that on fire. Then once this comes back, you set the remaining row on fire, and then we proceed as expected. Because that way we can still get the boost on the Infiltrator, and we can avoid accidentally destroying it with our own fire. It is probably still going to go down to those cards that deal a bunch of damage to boosted units, but, I mean, is that reason enough to just completely ignore this card and accept the fact that it's going to get destroyed? Maybe, to be honest, maybe. That might be the case. Which one of these is the particularly dangerous one? So, every 2 turns, turn start, summon a random elf. Whenever, okay, these are the ones that work in tandem. Yeah. So, I think we might actually just want to completely ignore the Stray's Infiltrator and accept that it's going to be a dead card. We didn't want to draw into it, of course. So, I think we do that. And that means we just set rows on fire as quickly as possible. In which case... yeah, I think we prioritize getting rid of you. So let's set this row on fire. And then let's also go leader ability on you. Yes, of course you have the armor, but I think we want to try to take you out as quickly as possible.
Got business for me?
And now, I mean, leader ability would be amazing at this moment, hitting all 3 of them simultaneously. But, so now I think what we do is we... Let's see. Bring up a play card from your deck. If in hand deck or battlefield, strengthen itself by 2 whenever a Scoia'tael unit is destroyed. That's the one risk with playing Rayla this early, is that, I mean, she does have 5 armor, yes, but she's a great target for them to destroy, and she has the potential to actually become quite a big card if we do manage to destroy some Scoia'tael with our damage. Our general damage is not nearly as good as it was in our previous attempt, but we do have Rayla, which is of course a big addition, as well as Xavier, and we can combine those cards with Reynard. So maybe we just do Rayla, Xavier, and Reynard almost immediately, and try to do all that stuff before they start destroying units all the time. So, yeah. Yeah, I think we do that. I think we do that. And this is actually going to take a turn for it to work, because she does not have Zeal. Does bring Knickers out. He has the chance of eating a card, and we really don't want him to eat one of our really strong cards. So you're the one that deals a little bit of damage, and deals more damage if they're boosted. Yeah, so this is why I was saying Stray's Infiltrator is not going to be a very helpful card for us. So now we go Xavier, right? Choose a card with an order and give it 1 charge. Yeah, so we play Xavier here.
Getting to work.
We use Rayla to set the other row on fire using the Palmer.
Catch!
So both rows on fire. That's why we were saying, again, Infiltrator's probably not that great for us, because we would prefer to set both rows on fire to maximize the damage. Then we can use Xavier to give a charge back to Rayla. We can do that twice. And if we do that, then I think we want Slingers for damage plus movement, because the other thing we have this time that we didn't have last time is we do have Gascon, and he has the potential to be pretty big. So I think we go that route. Give you a charge, use a Slinger, and we're going to want to move... Who do we care about the most? Lock an enemy unit? Death Wish, remove an enemy unit's lock. Who'd you lock? What? You didn't lock anybody? Or maybe you tried to lock someone who didn't have an order ability? Or you played her early enough that that didn't happen? That's odd. Or did she get summoned so her deploy ability didn't trigger? Maybe that was it. Didn't notice when exactly you came in, but anyways. So I think we want to shut down the summoning first and foremost. So we do that. We give Rayla another charge and do that exact thing again. And the damage is not quite enough by itself to get rid of those guys, but the fire could very well finish off this Hawker transport, which would be great because it is close. Well, actually, it will of course continue to be dangerous if it does not get destroyed, because there's one of the summons.
Swords I smile at, weapons
That
laugh.
is the card we are particularly concerned about. Okay, let's see. So this is going to just destroy stuff like crazy, and Rayla is probably the one that is most likely to get destroyed. Ooh, so we play Reynard now. That should give Xavier his charges back immediately. I don't think Rayla is going to be able to use hers immediately because she doesn't have Zeal, but if we use Xavier to give Rayla another charge, then maybe that still works, kind of, sort of. In which case we probably get out more slingers. So I think we at least give it a shot here. It's the combo we were looking for. It does work immediately. It does work immediately. Okay, so now the question becomes, do we guarantee that we kill these guys who are much weaker, or do we say just go all-out damage on this Swordmaster because this is the one that we are most fearful of? A little hard to say. Little hard to say. So, I think, either way, we're doing this. Is there any reason to go with something else? No, I really don't think so. So you do this, and
Storm knock out one of your teeth.
take most of those guys out, and that does boost Rayla because she gets strengthened whenever we destroy Scoia'tael units. The problem is she is technically still damaged, so she can get destroyed by the Elven Swordmaster, and I'm assuming Rayla is going to be the Swordmaster's first target. Otherwise, we could deliberately transform her into a bear, even though she is technically our strongest unit, just by changing her into a non-damage unit. We're only gaining 11 points, but at least she's not going to immediately get destroyed. So, now, well, we go here. Use Rayla again, and Rayla will be to get another Stray Slinger. As we were saying, though, the question at this point becomes, who do we move and damage with this one? Because we can definitely get rid of you. That's probably the move, and I guess it's probably those three, right? Those are the most dangerous at this point. Once again, gives Rayla some more strengthening, but I assume the Swordmaster is going to get rid of her. And that is everything we're looking to do on this turn.
None shall tread on us.
Oh! Did not get rid of Rayla. Very interesting. Okay, so this is the card that gets boosted whenever a non-elf unit dies. So in theory, that would be the card we want to put Stray's Infiltrator next to. The thing is, since we set the rose on fire, there's still a decent chance that Stray's Infiltrator is going to get destroyed. But we might give it a shot here, although I am tempted to see if we can perhaps use Marjoram Bear to transform Rayla at this stage to avoid losing what would otherwise be our biggest unit. I mean, of course, we gain the fewest points from converting her, whereas we transform a 1-power unit, then we're getting 21 points on. I mean, I suppose that is still the right play in that case. If we go... So close. They're tied, which I think we saw before has a 50-50 chance of either damaging our unit or damaging our opponent's unit, but we don't know for certain. We do have the weakest unit, so we would definitely be the one that gets boosted there, but I don't know, technically, even if Rayla does take damage in that situation, we do still come out ahead because she would survive with a little bit of power since she has that armor, and that armor would mean, you know, we're missing out on 5 of the damage, but we're getting full boost out of it, so it's a tiny net benefit, even if Rayla does become the one that gets hit, but we do still have a Stray Slinger in our hand. Technically, Cavalry we should be playing as quickly as possible, but as we were saying, we are kind of prioritizing getting rid of their dangerous cards as quickly as possible, and Slinger seemed like the best way to do that. I mean, maybe we're feeling really greedy we try doing this on something like the Elven Swordmaster, but I mean, Slinger is what? It's 2 damage, gets you down to a 4, and the fire is just 2 damage at best, so that still wouldn't be enough to destroy you. I guess that means we do this. It's much slower than I would like. And Rayla is probably dead now?
Now we will see who is weak.
No. They go after the unit that had the mark, and so, like I said, that's why I was saying we probably weren't too keen on using the mark, because right there we got 0 value out of it. But it distracted them from taking out Rayla, so that was kind of nice. Oh, we did lose our 1 power unit, didn't we? That was going to be the ideal target for Martyrum, but as long as this guy's alive, they will still have some damage. So we may have more damage units in the future, although Stray Slinger plus leader ability, we do have a lot more damage in our arsenal on this turn. So, I mean, this is 4 damage, this is 2 damage. We can guarantee we get rid of the Swordmaster. It's not ideal in terms of maximizing the damage out of the leader ability, because there's no one else that's going to match up with power with this Elven Swordmaster, but that's probably still worth doing. I think that is definitely still worth doing, in truth. So let's go with the Slinger. And do that, and then you guys aren't really a threat anymore, technically. These guys are more dangerous long-term, except destroying one of these Blue Mountain elites would mean that we could more likely power up Rayla, and now that, for whatever reason, that Elven Swordmaster did not take out Rayla, Rayla actually does become one of our strongest units. So maximizing the units that get destroyed is actually not a bad idea, and we might want to keep some big units if we do have any intention of having Stray's Infiltrator actually work. So now we go leader ability, and we guarantee that we get rid of you. And that's huge. That is absolutely huge. Because now Rayla is much safer. It does mean, at least for right now, Rayla is definitely the strongest card, though. Oh, right, now they start doing the healing, okay. Yeah, so that means Becker's Dark Mirror has a pretty solid chance of backfiring on us at the moment, which is unfortunate. I mean, we don't really want to go Martyrum Bear either, because then we're definitely going to be hitting our own unit with that. Gascon, also not really something we want to do. I think it's got to be Stray's Infiltrator here. And in that case, it's going to be next to this guy, who we actually want to become the biggest unit, although at this point we've gotten rid of most of their damage. So I don't really think we're going to be seeing many of our cards going down any lower here, and it probably means that Rayla or subsequent cards that we play are going to end up being the biggest. But, alright, so be it, I suppose. So let's see. Boost up by the power unit on the right. So that means we want to put you here, and as we were saying before, there's a pretty decent chance that the fire will actually take out our own Infiltrator. It didn't that turn.
Everything all right?
I mean, if you want to heal our Infiltrator, that'd be awesome. Please do not destroy Knickers. That would be extremely rude. Did you heal? You actually healed our Stray's Infiltrator. That's amazing. Thank you very much. So, you have 6 damage. So you're definitely going to destroy one of these cards, which does kind of stink, but what we can at the very least do is prioritize saving Knickers, because although Knickers is worth slightly fewer points, it does still have that ability to occasionally consume a card in our hand, which would be kind of nice, because we actually don't want to play Becker's Dark Mirror, as it turns out. So I think that means we are playing Gascon here, which actually, well, if we play Gascon and then we play Becker's Dark Mirror, we are damaging Gascon with Becker's Dark Mirror for sure. If we play Becker's Dark Mirror now, we are damaging Rayla, who has that armor, which means we're at least mitigating some of that self-damage. Do we have the lowest unit? We do not have the lowest unit, but then we're going to end up boosting our opponent. So this, at the moment, is looking like a card that we just outright discard, because it is a net downside to play it. So, with all that in mind, yeah, I think it's Gascon here,
And just when you thought
to
things
avoid
were
Knickers
about to get
getting
dull,
taken out. Why are you red? That's just weird. They were highlighting over it, technically, the CPU. So now what we want to have happen is we want Knickers to eat Becker's Dark Mirror. And I mean, this is going to get destroyed, but... Ooh, we did get Stray's Infiltrator back. Okay.
Oh, my little leg.
They're doing more healing. Will come back. Does give them a bit of a boost. So now... we do still have that. Well, we do have the strongest unit. But it is actually Rayla, once again. That is actually the upside of having made Gascon the unit that got damaged by that mercenary. And that means who's the lowest now? Is it one of our fives? It's one of our fives. So yeah, actually, this is playable now. It damages us, but we can mitigate some of the damage from the armor, and we do get the full boost, so it should still, on net, be a very slight benefit to us. And then we'll use, on our last turn, Martyr and Bear to transform somebody into the bear. So let's do it. Okay, yeah, so it only dealt 10 damage, but it boosted by the full 15. So that means, on net, a 5-point benefit. Still dealing some damage here. They only have one card left, and it has no ability. We have the lead here still. They'll do some healing, but they'll take the damage, and that means we have won this. But for good measure, we'll transform one of our weaker cards into a bear. And that'll be that.
There's but one penalty for trading with elves.
And like I was saying before, the first time we tried this, it was not even close. Just recently, our previous attempt was tough, but it seemed possible, and there we have it.
She laid a trap for the Scoia'tael in their own woods. The surrounded elves fought to the bitter end, choosing death over human captivity. Meve cracked open the hawkers' chests and stared at a massive tangled oakum. Perplexed, she dug deeper and found the real goods hidden underneath. Bolts with entrail pureeing hooks, leg-snapping bear traps, and incurable poisons.
Yikes. Okay, so I assume that means we're going to have some kind of question asking us, what do we do with all this equipment?
Instruments of cruelty,
said Reynard, looking over the chest's contents.
designed to deliver maximum pain and a prolonged death.
Gascon did not share in the general gloom. He reached for one of the arrows and balanced it in his hand with curiosity.
A corpse is a corpse. It cares not how it became one. And these marvels, oh, my lads could do fine things with them.
Okay, I was thinking it was going to end up being Rayla taking one side and then either Meve or, well, probably not Meve, but maybe Reynard or Gascon taking the other side. And I was going to say, I'm not sure we can take any chances with Rayla at this stage, but if we're talking Gascon versus Reynard, maybe we have a little more flexibility there. So we can either destroy the weapons or equip our own troops with them. Obviously, they're weapons that can help make us a more formidable force. That'd be nice. On the other hand, as Reynard was saying, they're weapons of cruelty, and so it's not the most honorable of directions to take. And so, for that reason, morally questionable. We've been kind of back and forth on the line of, do we go the morally acceptable route, or do we just go with brute efficiency, whatever the path might lead us toward? You know, even if it means we are cruel and unusual punishers of these Scoia'tael, then maybe it's necessary evil. And, well, by going the less honorable route previously, we of course lost Eik, but if we go and continue to waver back and forth and we try to be honorable here, we are perhaps running the risk of losing Rayla. Seems like that's less the case this time round. So if ever there were a time to be a little more devious, then perhaps this would be it. Well, I don't know if I'm reading too much into how Rayla is not one of the people weighing into this decision, but I mean, then again, we have been particularly successful as of late. we've been actually doing kind of okay. So maybe we don't need the weapons.
My crown I have lost, but my honor remains.
Meve said, grabbing the arrow from Gascon.
I will not allow soldiers under my command to fight with this. Reynard, have these chests thrown in the lake.
In sinking the Hawker's weapons, Meve sent a clear signal that her honor would not tarnish even at the darkest hour.
Okay,
News of the massacre echoed
theoretically
through
good
all
message
of
to send.
Edirne, cooling the desire of anyone tempted to profit by selling death to elven terrorists.
That's also probably a good thing. But of course and actually not neutral morale, high morale for taking the moral high ground there. So that's certainly nice. Obviously we likely missed out on some kind of benefits from actually acquiring those resources, but we get some resources just from completing the encounter, and several more, including apparently some kind of achievements for just looting this stuff afterward. And it's actually a decent amount of it. It's starting to add up quite a bit here. Now, wood, we're past 1,500. That could be an important threshold. Past 1,250 for gold. Less certain about that, but perhaps it is worth at least making a quick check here. Let's see. Oh, and... Huh? Update from the Royal Tent? Hawker Correspondence. Joel. Aldane's pointy ears have put in the following order. 2 boxes of gut-tearing bolts. I suppose these are probably all the things we just saw. 3 canisters of weaponized hemlock. 5 crates of snares and traps. 1 bullwhip made of the finest steel for Commander Pointy Ears himself. Bite each coin twice. Last time they slipped in a few falsies. And keep the devils off the main roads. Still can run into Edirnian patrols at times. Loss. Okay. But what I really wanted to see is just from a workshop standpoint, are there any big upgrades we can now afford? Like, we cannot yet give ourselves an additional trinket. We're close to it from a gold standpoint. With just a little more exploration, we might get enough from just goods on the side of the road. And this is perhaps a little bit better than I was giving it credit for before, because adding a trinket, we've acquired some decent ones as of late, and also by having one of the 25 cards in our deck be a trinket that does not have a recruit cap cost, that means that the cards that do contribute toward the recruit cap can be that much better, because we basically have a quote-unquote free card in our deck. So that's also more useful than I had originally given it credit for, I think. So that is potentially worth considering, especially if there is a trinket that really catches our attention that we want to add to our deck. Other than that, we can't yet afford the Mess Tent 2 upgrade. This one, we're a little bit further away from a gold standpoint, but that is one we were eyeing before. Again, keeping recruit cap in mind, I think it was still less effective than the Soldier's Quarters upgrades, mathematically speaking. And this would definitely still be better here, because I think we went from, what, like 125 to 150, and that was still better at the time than reducing our recruit cap cost by 10%, and now if we're adding an incremental 50 rather than an incremental 25, then, I mean, this is obviously the perfect upgrade for us right now, if we could afford this, but we are quite a ways away from that. Then other stuff in terms of unlocking the ability to create other cards. Can't afford these guys. The movement speed, not a huge deal, but this one, we're actually considerably closer to this. We are very close to being able to do this one. Just not sure if there are any cards that really catch my attention here. Damage all units on this road by 2. Whenever a unit appears on this road, damage it by 2. Maybe the Pitfall Trap, that might be the one that looks the most inspiring. But other than that, clear all row effects on your side for 3 turns. On turn start, draw the top card from your deck. Ooh. Drawing the top card from our deck is nice. It's not often we've seen our opponents using row effects against us, though. That makes me a little hesitant to say that's worth investing in. And then the Field Medic. I mean, it's not very often that we are playing battles that we have numerous rounds in. As you just saw, that was just a 1-round battle, so our graveyard... I mean, I suppose cards can still get destroyed by damage, especially against Goitel, because they have so much damage, but it just doesn't seem like that's worth investing all that, or at least it's not an amazing card that is worth putting all of our money into. But if we are looking for finding ways to spend these crowns, then perhaps that does end up being our answer. Just poke our heads around this area here, because we did see there was a spot that was blocked off by one of those pitfall traps. Was there anything on the other side of it, though? It doesn't seem like it. Can we even approach it from this side? We can, obviously. But yeah, we will just find another route, because we certainly have seen one. So no need to sacrifice the wood on that occasion. But with that being done, this encounter here, that now means that we may be looking to make our way over to Eldain after this, because I'm not sure that there are any other encounters that we know of at this point other than just those traps, and obviously those are just traps that cost us money and are not actually things of note that are worth pursuing. So especially now that we are on high morale, I think when better to take on Eldain than probably our next go, unless there happens to be other things that we encounter along the way, because we've been across, I think, all the way up to about this bridge here. I suppose it's certainly possible there could be one more encounter in between us and Eldain then, but it would be really nice if we could get there on high morale, because that of course gives us a little bit of an extra boost. I assume we are probably having some form of fight during that encounter, and as long as he doesn't have those cards that deal extra damage to our units that are boosted, then having that extra morale could be a really nice bonus. But anyways, with all that being said, I think this is probably a good place for us to wrap up here. We completed an encounter that, at least for a little while there, I was assuming we were miles away from being able to succeed at, so that's definitely a good sign, and as I was saying, I think Eldain is next.